Hello there, and welcome to another episode of The Impulsive Thinker. I am actually today, I'm not your host. I'm just a guest, Andre Brisson here. I've guest host Karen Richard from Made.live, a self-publishing, an online platform to publish your children's book faster and easier. Karen, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
So far, so good. I'm looking forward to this. But I want you to first tell us about yourself and the project that you're working on.
Yeah, so Made Live is something that I co-founded with my husband, who he has also been in on it with me from the beginning. We really got into it, wanted to write books ourselves. I actually left my job as a speech pathologist of nearly 20 years and had the dream, like most people do, a lot of people do, of writing children's books. I've always been really passionate about them, used them in therapy with the kids that I worked with, and really always had it in mind that when they were done with me, they would love books if they didn't when they came. So that had always been a dream of mine. He really encouraged me to get into it, and very quickly realized that publishing is a beast and it is overwhelming and frustrating, and we were looking for self-publishing options to make it easier, and we really couldn't find anything that ticked all the boxes. So it's kind of the classic entrepreneur story. We didn't know the need was there until we needed it ourselves. So I ended up getting some fantastic mentorship from a local accelerator program out here in the Okanagan where we are. And they encouraged me to take a long, hard look at our business model and say, do you really want to be writing books, or is there something here with this software? So really what we're developing is an end-to-end option solution for people who want to self-publish a children's book. 98% or more of people who submit manuscripts to publishers get rejected. And it's not because their book sucks. It's because it doesn't have mass market appeal and they can't get the return on investment. So, as a self-published author, even if you're sinking some money into it, your royalties and what you're making off of each book is significantly higher than what you're able to get when you go through a traditional publishing house. So for those people who really want or have the ability to manage that project, we're making it easy. We're guiding you through it. What do you need to do? Don't forget about this. Think about this piece. How do you bring on an illustrator and get them in the system? How do you bring an editor into the system? And really with the goal of publishing kids' books that are just as good as anything that comes out of a traditional publishing house.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know if the listeners can hear it, but I can definitely see there's a lot of passion there.
Yeah. When I try to do my 30-second pitch, and I always end up telling a little bit more because it really is. I'm so passionate about it, and the number of people I meet who say that they have a story, and they met with an agent who told them to just give up, or they submitted to 100 publishing houses and not a single one picked them up, and they even had self-published and sold some and had a following, and they're still getting rejected because we're not doing books about animals right now. Like it's just the most inane thing. So really that idea of you can be successful and you can do it, and we want to help people do that and give them the tools to attack it little bit by little bit and climb the mountain.
You're giving them a shortcut. That's awesome.
Totally. Yeah, the story of tech, right?
So
I've got some questions for you.
Ask away.
I know in terms of your diagnosis and how long you have been diagnosed, my understanding is you got a diagnosis about 3 years ago.
Correct.
And that you're kind of early to mid 40s. So being someone who is also newly diagnosed, but more recently so, I'm curious to hear your reflection on how your mindset has shifted with that diagnosis, especially how you reflect on yourself, how you reflect. Were you always somebody who self-evaluated and thought about, what challenges were there, or, were you always trying to hack your day? Those kinds of things. Yeah. So tell me about the differences.
The self-evaluation has been constant. And the thing was, the story I told myself is actually learning about myself, self-help books, whatever assessments out there to better understand myself, which was true. But I was actually looking at it to find what was wrong with me to fix in the eyes of others.
So did you always have a sense that there was something, or
Oh
like,
yeah.
was that the message that you were getting kind of your whole life?
Yeah, I
Is
was
that
the
something was wrong?
oddball. Something's wrong because you're not supposed. You're doing things. That's not how it's done. People don't act that way. Social cues, social rules that makes no sense to me.
Right.
But yeah, I was always an oddball, and I was always clearly pointed out that I was always the odd person out, and
Mm,
to stop doing things because, and it didn't make sense to me.
right.
I was always a self-evaluating. It's just that I wasn't applying it in the right way. Instead of working
Right.
on my strengths and using that to identify my strengths, I used it on where were the gaps that I needed to fit in the social norm, right?
Right.
A lot of like when I first started engineering into my Jade Engineers in 2007, I started to follow all the rules, all the books, how you're supposed to grow and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't. I just decided to throw the book out and I started to do well. Then people tell me if you can't do it that way, you're supposed to do marketing this way, do that way. And then I started having problems with the company. Then I throw the book out,
Mm,
do it my way. It's not normal. But that's when
right.
I had the most success is when I just threw, you got your basic rules in that, but at the same time, if it doesn't feel right, doesn't make sense, don't do it.
Right. Of course.
So
Yeah. So it sounds like that idea of sort of filling in the holes and trying to figure out how to smooth out the road, I guess,
yeah,
so that
that's a
you're
good way
not
of putting
coming
it.
up on those bumps. That is a lot of the way that I think about
Mhm.
that. The idea of masking. It's, how can I fly under the radar? But it sounds like that wasn't something that was very easy for you in the early days. Did you find now since getting a
Well, to go
diagnosis?
back on the masking,
Yeah.
to me, masking is almost it's a conscious effort to mask. But I got so
Okay.
good at masking, it became a character.
Like playing a role.
I was playing a role and I got so good at it, I forgot who I really was for a while. And then with my
Mm,
diagnosis, that was the struggle now is to go, which was the character, which is the true me? Is that
right.
habit? Is that need the character or is that me? And then
Right. So
what?
with that diagnosis now, do you feel like you can be more unapologetically yourself?
Oh, damn right.
Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This
I'm the
is
same
me.
way.
That's
Yeah.
it. Suck it up, princess or prince, whatever. Sorry,
Take it
whatever
or
it is.
leave it.
Yeah. I've always been a
Yeah.
take it or leave it, but it's not, I don't need to apologize as much anymore as I used to, right?
Mm,
For interrupting or saying what people term inappropriate, or, I always say like, I purposely make people uncomfortable at times if we're having conversations, just to show that life is not comfortable. Like I like to
yeah.
change it up and just kind of test people's limits to a certain degree, but in a fun, jovial way.
Right.
And I forget where I was going to go with this. Yeah. So there.
Yeah. So I guess that's a really nice sort of lead into the next question I wanted to ask, which was just reflect on the impact your diagnosis has had on the different relationships in your family or in your life. So relationships
Yeah.
with, say, partners. You mentioned you have at least a couple kids, I think.
Yeah. Two girls.
Work
Yeah.
relationships, personal relationships. Like what have you seen? Any changes there?
Oh, huge. Now the thing is, when I got my diagnosis, I had 5 years. It was bad. It was bad years. I had a bad business
Hmm.
partnership, bad deal. I was not in a good spot, and
Hmm.
I was not pleasant to be around, work wise, family wise, and all that.
Hmm.
So when I got the diagnosis, yes, there's this character thing but there's a two
Right.
years solid there. I went through therapy, a lot of help, and I had to get over a lot of that negative energy, that negative rumination, to the
Right.
point where it's like, accepting the ADHD, starting to see myself. Yes, there's certain aspects I don't like. I can work on that, but there's certain parts. It is ADHD is causing it, but I don't see it as big of a problem. If you don't like it, have a nice day. Right.
Right.
So in that sense, I'm open about it.
Hmm.
ADHD I got a podcast, right?
Yeah, this is not a very well kept secret, is it?
And I'm starting up a Tactical Breakthroughs, which is a program for the high achieving ADHD entrepreneur. But yeah, when I got diagnosed, I kind of hit it, but I started to share it with people. Some people would tell me it's just an excuse. There's no point. They're not around anymore. But the more I learned, the more I shared about it. Actually, I just interviewed my oldest daughter for an episode, and she actually said herself that because I talked about it more, they got to understand more about it, and they can actually differentiate between me just being a dummy or ADHD causing something and how we can work it out. So I found a lot
you
of
have a
people.
really open communication style with your kids as well about
Oh, yeah.
this.
Yeah. And
And how
especially
old are they?
they're 13 and 9 at the time of
Okay.
recording. And they're not officially diagnosed, but they're ADHD. Like my oldest is definitely hyperactive young girl, young woman now. And my oldest is inattentive and
Right.
probably Asperger's too. And I've got that runs in my family. And I'm also Asperger's, but everyone in the office knows. A lot of my good customers know because it's just open about it. And I could explain, says, you know what? I can't deal with certain situations, or if I just get up and leave, it's because it's before I start saying stupid stuff. Because now I know my limit. If I'm starting to get frustrated with a certain type of customer or person, instead of me sitting there getting so upset and frustrated, then my mouth just impulsively goes off and causes problems. I walk away before. And then people, if they say, hey, why was that? I said, my ADHD was starting to flare up and I had to get out, stuff like that. So
it gives them a nice opportunity to sort of step in the support role and just know why, you're not upset, but they can take over and kind of.
And the majority of people, they say, oh, it makes a lot of sense now once you explain it. Right.
Well, and do you find that there's still a lot of people who have absolutely no clue what it is?
Oh, yeah. They just think
Like
it's a hyperactive boy.
Right. Yeah.
Who doesn't listen, doesn't pay attention. It says, no, it's true, but not true. It's just perception. Like I heard this from one podcast I was listening to, is that ADHD is the only mental health condition that is diagnosed because it's disrupting other people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Depression, it's internal. It's
Yep.
affecting you. So you're diagnosed. Anxiety, it's you. But ADHD has everything to do with everyone else.
Yeah. And
right?
especially those diagnoses in kids, because the kids don't have that ability to self-reflect and go,
Correct.
oh, I think I've got inattention. You get a diagnosis as a kid because you're a problem. Yeah. Like you're creating a problem or a situation for somebody else, and they want to either, quote unquote, fix it or figure out how to support whether, whatever that rationale or reasoning is. But yeah, you're 100% right. Kids don't have that ability to self-reflect. And, is it helpful to have a diagnosis? Heck yeah. Unfortunately, our educational system requires it for support. So, a lot get pushed that way. But I honestly think that that's a huge part too about why we're now starting to see more adults doing what they would refer to as self-diagnosis. I mean, nobody else told me I had ADHD. I started going, oh, I think I have this, and started talking to trusted people, and it came to light. Nobody
it's only
else
recently that it's only recently that adults were diagnosed because they believe kids grew out of it.
Yeah, and they also believed it had to show in childhood, and it's like it showed in high school. So subtle.
Correct. Yeah. Well, and here's the other challenging things. If you were disrupted, if you were not failing school, like we got my oldest, we got the psychiatrist for my oldest, and he goes, you can't be diagnosed with ADHD because you're doing well in school, you're not having problems. I started to get upset. I was about to blast him. But the thing is, I've already been working with my oldest for a year with symptom management. And then she ended up going to the gifted program. So she was in the right environment.
Yeah.
So then I had to say, impulsivity, settle down. I walked out. It was a virtual call. So I just walked out of the room. My wife understood that I was starting to get upset. Just leave me alone. Then I came back, and the thing is, but the DSM, to be diagnosed ADHD, you do have to have those problems. And if you don't have them, so according to the book, he could not diagnose it.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if he thinks, down into the base of his heart and soul that you have the challenges. Yeah.
And that's why you need to get the right psychiatrist involved. Like you can have, I know there are some psychiatrists I've been talking to regularly. They will diagnose people even though they don't have problems, because they're experts. They know it, they understand it. But for him, he's just a book guy. That's it. Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is it's only recently that ADHD happen with smart, successful people.
I agree. It
Sorry.
was always looked at as a
Sorry, let me
deficiency.
correct that. Not smart, not smart. And the high intelligent person, like to me,
Yeah,
intelligence doesn't
high
mean you're
IQ.
smart. Everyone is smart. Yeah, high
Yeah.
IQ. And that's where the success in school, because it was probably me and you. It sounds like me and you were wired the same way for fact finding and following through, and that just masked the things we had, or we're able to create our own systems to mask it or to manage it to a certain degree. And then
Right.
becoming an adult, you don't have your school there, you don't have your parents there to manage you, and then you've got to adult yourself, and that's where the problems. And then for me, I had a pretty good system worked up until I had my businesses were overwhelming. And then I had way too many balls in the air. I was starting to
So
throw
what
in
happens to
bowling
you
balls.
when you get there? When you get the overwhelming, like the
That's
spinning
when
plates or the juggling?
That's when the symptoms took control over me. Right? I
And
wasn't
for you, is
raised
it like
about
a
emotional.
shutdown, or is it?
No. It's
It's
explosion.
externalized.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Emotional
I've got the difference.
dysregulation was definitely not a thing in our family when we were growing up. It's the emotional dysregulation just took over, and I'm hyperactive and impulsive, so there's no more filter, and that just made everything, it wasn't fun for anyone. Staff, I still wonder why my engineer manager is still around. Right? I still wonder at times why my family
good
is
people
still
who
around.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's key to have those people, and to start to realize who help you, who gaslight you, who don't care for you. It's time to just get rid of them, right?
Yeah, they don't serve you. They don't
Yeah.
benefit you in any way, shape, or form.
And then to go, like, there's one more level of relationships I never knew was available to me until about a year and a half ago. Okay. So now I'm open about the ADHD. I'm in, in a couple of entrepreneurial groups, programming group or coaching groups, and I'm open about it. I'm actually having more connections with people because now I'm actually, before was, okay, Karen, you say, let's keep in touch. And I'll go, yeah, okay, whatever. She's just being nice. I won't reach out again. Or you could say, let me know, if you're in the area, give me a call. You're sincere, but my brain is trained to just say whatever. She don't care. Right. So I had a lot of those, and I'm like, all right, let's prove this theory to say, at least I tried to say that I'm right. So I'm starting to say, okay, Karen, I'll take you up on it. And I email you and you go, yeah, let's do it. Well, let's just like this one, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm like, holy crap. Do it again.
It's
and
not
like,
BS.
Right. So now I'm making a lot more powerful relationships. And understanding that, especially with the gifted side, our intensity, once we get in there, and then the ADHD goes, we got a high intensity, and that freaks people out. Right?
Yeah. If they don't get it, it's a bit much.
Like, to me, if I like you, we're friends for life, man. Like, that's the way I see it. And then you start to act like that, and they're like, whoa, settle down, buddy. Right.
Yeah.
So now that I know that, I kind of tone myself down a bit, but at least I'm still reaching out, and I'm making some really great friendships over the last year and a half by doing this. People are just willing to say, let's sit down and talk about your issues or challenges. And then it's a two-way street, rather than that usual, I provide everything to you and then they bail.
Right. And it's that, as people, we like to categorize and put things in boxes. And if we can connect with people and realize that, I guess maybe a Venn diagram is a better sort of idea. It's, I mentioned when you did the interview with me, feeling like a chameleon as a kid. I had these different personas, so to speak, of like, this is how I needed to act in this group, and this is how I acted in that group. And there were certain overlaps, but where is the true you? And I feel like being able to get into that openness and honesty with people, and being like, yeah, I got ADHD and this is my challenge. And I open up about it, and the number of people that reach back out has been absolutely shocking. Like, that sense of community. Right. And we're all kind of scratching our heads and figuring it out, but that sense of community is there, and it's shared experience. Even if, for you, when your ADHD kind of flares up, it's an external explosion. Mine goes internal implosion. And, all I want to do is pull the curtains and climb into bed and watch Netflix for 7 hours a day. Like,
Yeah.
it looks like depression, but I'm not depressed. I'm just really overwhelmed.
Right.
So, but the more people understand that, it's, you know, you feel like you're part of this like club in a way. It's kind of like, yeah, it's a sense of belonging where, you know, maybe we didn't have that so much growing up.
Well, you're right about the community part. I am seeing the community, more like-minded people. And the more people I talk about it, I'm actually hearing people saying, "Psst, I have ADHD too."
Yeah, but why are you so quiet about
Right. Right.
it?
But at the same time too, is being more open and honest. I'm finding I'm attracting the right people.
Yes.
Like I'm all about being open-minded, honest conversation. Like me, we can have a conversation here and you might have a point of view. I will agree with it, but sometimes I'll just challenge it and act like I don't agree with it, just so I can get all the information, have that intellectual conversation.
Oh, aren't they? And those, like, that's a dopamine chase.
Those
If
are,
I
yeah,
ever saw one. Those conversations where you can like really dig in,
right,
but where people aren't getting pissed off and
right,
like angry and shutting down. Like, let's just have a debate. You
right,
disagree. Well, what's your evidence? Why do you say that? Tell me more.
right.
Help me understand.
So the people I was drawing before, I couldn't do that. But since I got more
Mm,
open and honest and start to, you know, like you're like a like-minded person, I'm going to reach out now and see if we can have a relationship and start
yeah.
talking. Now these people are actually coming to me saying, "Hey, let's talk." Like I had one guy says, "I really like you." He started doing this. He's in Toronto here, and he's an entrepreneur too. He goes, "I started having this habit every Saturday morning. I have lunch or breakfast with a smart person. Doesn't have to be in the industry."
Oh,
So he
yeah.
invited me for breakfast, and we had,
Brilliant.
yeah, you're a good, smart person. I want to continue having these smart conversations. Right.
Right.
And and this is one of the first people that came to me first. Usually I've always been the askee or
Right.
the asker. And,
Right.
you know, and then it's not only him, it's just really cool to get that, but that has a lot to do with that acceptance and opening my mind and just
And
saying,
confidence,
yeah,
really, to be able to put yourself out there.
yeah.
That's still something a lot of us, I think, are coming to grips with and trying to improve upon.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm really curious too, getting into that idea of, you know, the flare-ups or the challenges when the symptoms are really kind of getting the best of you. I know you have kind of talked about the idea of how those have really sort of sabotaged business growth.
Mhm.
So what do you have anything that you have felt to be for you, obviously personally in your experience, what have been those key tools, strategies? What is like the one thing that really helps when you feel like it's, say, taking over and you really need support
I've
or
identified my triggers,
ah,
right?
okay.
So I actually feel it in my chest and shoulders first.
Oh, so sort of like that somatic
Yeah.
physiological.
So I'm more aware of it. So when I start feeling tense for no reason, then that's an early warning.
Mm,
Then I get to, then I kind of reflect, see where it is. Because if I let that go too long, it'll just leave. It'll just go.
hmm. So do you give yourself, when you feel that opportunity, that's your cue to step out?
Yeah.
Or is it,
Yeah.
yeah. And then do you have any strategies of like, is it just being able to step out and calm your mind? Do you have a routine you go through to kind of get that back
It
down?
depends how far I let it go.
Fair
If
enough.
I let it go a little too much, I'll just leave for the day.
Uh,
But
okay.
here's another revelation, and I can relate this all the way back to when I started my first job in engineering in 1999. Is a lot of my frustrations and my emotional dysregulation triggers is all related to stuff I don't want to do, that I let myself get
Mm,
trapped to do, and I'm trying to get out and I'm trying to get it done quick and it's not working.
mm,
So now, you know, I got my own companies. It's my game, my rules, and
right.
sticking to my unique ability and not doing that. You know, that's why you have staff. They're there to do the
Yeah.
stuff you're not good at and you don't want to do. And I'm slowly
Right.
putting that away. So the last year and a bit, my emotional dysregulation issue has been more related around stuff I don't want to do and I got trapped myself into.
Mm,
So if we stick
that's
to what we
good
do
advice.
well,
Yeah. Do what you do well and hire out the rest.
right? Exactly. And
Yeah.
then it's not, if you got to figure out how to do it, that's the time to look for who can do it for you.
Right. Right. And I envy your position at this stage in time. I mean, we're Made Live's a two-man shop at this point, so we are the everything. You know, my co-founder is all the things tech, and I'm all the things everything else.
We
And
all
it's
start there.
yeah, oh yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the day where I can hire out the things that drive me crazy. I don't, you know,
And
when
all-
I get a CFO, I will be a much happier lady.
You know what? Everyone says that, and you're all going to fall in the same trap. And the thing is, think about it this way too, Karen. It's because if you start your own company, you're wearing all the hats, right? Then you
Yep.
become, it's the habit. You've gone into a habit to do it all. Even if you
Right.
hire
So
the
how do you
people,
delegate?
that's it. You got to get out of the
How do you let
habit.
go? How do you let go?
And what I for a while is I didn't trust them. I couldn't delegate properly. It's getting out of that habit and not feeling guilty.
Hmm.
You know, I'm
Yeah,
tired
no,
of doing the books,
yeah.
but I've always done it.
Right.
I know how to do it, but it's just, I don't want to give it up because look, the other person knows I can do it. I'm lazy. Well, I hired you to do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And like for me, I know I've been, you know, trying to convince myself that when that time comes and we hire somebody in, it's delegation is not a good thing for me. I'm terrible at it. I think the perfectionistic tendencies are there. It's like, I want it done the way I want it done, and I've got to release that.
Yeah.
But it's also got to be, you know, I hate the saying, but there's, you know, a million ways to skin a cat. You just, if you can get to the same end, it doesn't really matter what you did to get there.
Yeah.
So really letting people show what they can do rather than expecting them to fail.
Yeah. And then the thing is, it's going to be hard on your soul when you start realizing that people that hire actually do things quicker than you and better. Right?
I'm looking forward to that day.
Yeah, we all
I
say
want to
that.
be surrounded by smarter people. I would love to be the dumber one in the room.
And that's my theory too. But we got to allow them to be smarter than us.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, it's a new, like it's a kid, it's your baby. You created it. You're very protective of it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Like we just launched into beta this week, opened it up. So we've got our first
Congrats.
eyeballs on it. And thank you. It's a very small group because we're nervous, understandably so. And we're opening it up more publicly in January. But it's like, I likened it to, showing off a new baby. It's like, it is very vulnerable being an entrepreneur. And I don't think a lot of people talk about that. And for those of us who also have ADHD, being vulnerable is not something that's easy for us.
No.
So, you know, checking in and being honest about it is helpful. But yeah, I feel like I'm introducing my new baby to the whole world, and it's exhausting and terrifying and exciting all the same time.
Yeah. And you can't fall asleep. That's what most people don't understand. It's, you know, you're making, you must have lots of money. You got your own company. You guys just walk around, do nothing.
Yeah, but work about 16 to 18 hours a day, and it never stops. The mind just
never
keeps spinning.
leaves you. So
yeah.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
So what would be your one
takeaway? Me pick your brain.
What is your one takeaway?
My big takeaway, you know, it's from the things that you said today, it's really that it goes back to something that my grandma said, water always finds its own level. Surround yourself with like-minded people, that sense of community, you know, like attracts like. Put yourself out there and you'll be surprised what you get back. And I think that you have learned that in the last few years and are showing it and living it now, even more so in recent years. So
yeah, for me, it would be really nice that if we can get to the point where ADHD can be diagnosed when you're not having a problem.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a way of evaluating, you know, things that work for you and things that don't work for you. And it's not because it's a problem. It's just this is a way to do it better or more efficiently.
Right. It's chronic. And the thing is we just don't do it the way other people do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the key. And I've always been I remember this as a kid fighting with my parents. Why can't I do it this way? Just because everyone else does it, I don't want to jump off the same cliff.
Right.
But then you're a kid and you're told to go to your room, and what do? Right. But that's one of the things for me. That's why I always look for the unique person. What makes you tick? How do you work? How do you like to receive information?
Yeah.
What do you like to do? And let's try to keep you in there.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm a huge proponent of embrace your weirdness. Like we all have a little weird. We all do.
We're all odd.
Like we are. Everybody's got their quirks. Everybody's got their things. Figure out what yours are and just like let it go. Stop pretending it doesn't exist. It's incredibly freeing. Like, you know, it sounds like you've had a big you know, spike in confidence and in your own abilities and in who
Yeah.
you are. And I think a diagnosis is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways, that it lets you just own who you are.
It was the last puzzle piece to connect it all to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had a whole picture, but there's just one little thing missing that kept everything, like I kept saying, it's like a bridge. That last piece kept the bridge solid, while before it was not very stable.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it had to do with being open and honest with myself,
Yep.
looking in the mirror and just truly looking deep inside and evaluating. And if you don't do that, honestly, you can't grow.
No, you'll stay in the same place.
Right.
If you're okay with that, that's fine. But if you want to grow and improve, and as humans, I hope we all do, then introspection is key.
Cool. Karen, I don't know what to say, but thank you very much. I actually
Thank
learned a couple
you.
of things about myself too today.
Oh, fantastic.
And congratulations on your beta launch.
Thank you.
And I think this platform will really work out for you. So it's made.live.
You got it.
The link is in the show notes. And if you want more information about that, I'll put Karen's LinkedIn link in the show notes too. Is there anywhere else they can get in touch with you, Karen?
You know what? I'll throw out my personal email, Karen@made.live. If anybody, wants to chat about the interview or about making a book, hit me up there. And then on all of the socials, we are at Go Made Live.
Go Main Live.
Go Made Live. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you very much. And thank you to the listener for listening. Please let us know if you've heard anything that resonated with you. And if you got more information or more interest, you can send us an email at questions@theimpulsivethinker.com. Karen, thanks again.
Thank you. This was fantastic.
I think we'll have you on again. I think so. I'll see that in the future.
I don't think I could say no.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for your time. Take care.